Again, like I just mentioned, this was kind of something that we put together last minute in response to a lot of parents asking, and just a lot of conversations that I've been having with parents lately. I felt like there were a couple things, a couple stories, a couple real life examples that I could share. I am not, disclaimer, I am not a parenting expert or a counselor or a psychologist. I don't have any of those letters behind my name. All I have is quite a few years and a lot of conversations with parents, finding out what works, what doesn't work. Never really saw myself in that role, but it just so happens that I got in that role. And then my first book, The Youth Truth, which many of you guys have read, that's really all about sports parenting and best practices, do's and don'ts, what works, again, what doesn't. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see if I can pull up tonight's slide deck that we're going to use. And we are going to, honestly, I'm trying to keep this like 30, 35 minutes. Not a ton of content, really. This is just about working through a couple concepts with you all. One of my gifts that I've been blessed with and opportunities I've been given is just simply, whether it's an athlete, a coach, or a parent, helping you to get above the forest. Because all day long, just like I am as well, like we are in the forest doing our life, doing our parenting, doing our coaching, whatever it is with our lives, doing our careers. And we all know the value of getting above things to be able to see, okay, number one, what was the destination that I set out for? So as a sports parent, right, did you ever think about that? Did you ever think about like, what is my destination that I'm trying to get to? What would winning look like? And then being able to get, again, above the forest for long enough just to see, hey, where am I at, right? Have I been going down the wrong path for a little bit too long and I got to get back on track? And that's why we like to do these things. That's why I like to do these things. So that's the mission tonight is, again, the title of this is not how to make sure my kid doesn't struggle. That is not the title for tonight. The title is not how to make sure my kid opens up and shares with me what's going on, which is a concern from a lot of parents who are on here tonight. The title of this is not how to make sure that my kid gives their best effort in everything they do and reaches their full potential, because you can't make sure those things happen. All we can do is share best practices proven to work to support your athlete or your student maximally. And these things create the best chance for them to want to, which is the other part of the goal, right? To get them to eventually want to do these things in time. And of course, as you guys saw leading up to this, part of the goal is like, do what we can do to not make things any worse, right? At least we can do our part. So that's what we're going to try to accomplish tonight. There may not be any breakthrough concepts tonight. There may be reminders for you. A lot of the times we don't need more teaching. We just need more reminders. So that's my goal tonight, is to help give you guys some reminders that can help you and your student athlete in your journey, because today's a crazy world that we're living in. So real quick, if you don't know the story about how PFP, how I got involved in the whole mindset side of student athlete development, we started our gym in 2014, centered around student athletes, bigger, faster, stronger, and provide a loving atmosphere. Well, it was 2016 that I got a phone call from this mother, Tracy, and Tracy was frantic. It was a summer day. I'll never forget it. I was in the office of PFP 2.0, and Tracy calls me up. And I could barely understand her. She was so frantic. Andrew, it happened again last night. Last night, Megan, she made one mistake and she started to unravel. And then once she started to unravel, she got in her head. I could see her body language, her posture. She was just losing it. And then coach pulled her out, and then she was really done for. And can you help her? Can you help her? I can't stand to watch this happen again. And I sat there and I listened. And honestly, I had a little pit in my stomach. I honestly felt like we had let them down. And I said to her, like, Tracy, I thought we were helping her with these things. Like, I thought like that's part of our mission, right? Like, this girl had a 27-inch vertical jump, 4.0 student, smart, athletic, college bound for sure. Yet she couldn't perform. And worse than that, she was in an emotional and a mental funk, and she didn't know how to get out of it. And we didn't really know how to help her get out of it at the time. So we went on this journey. And I told Tracy, I said, Tracy, I don't know any sports psychologists, honestly. And I don't know if her going and talking to some old guy and talking about visualization, not hating on sports psychologists. I love sports psychologists. I got some friends that are sports psychologists, but a lot of them out there, it's kind of like the stale old routine of like, let's visualize success. And I said, I don't know any sports psychologists, but I feel like I can help her with these things. I've navigated how to kind of manage my own mindset and manage my own emotions and frustrations. And I've been able to help my teammates do it. So I feel like I could help her do it as well. And so I started meeting with her one-on-one, different lessons around personal development, focus, how to change your focus, how to navigate what you want most and make sure it's not just what everybody else wants for you. And so we started working through these things. And in a matter of a couple months, she had gotten back on track. She not only was able to get past a lot of her mindset struggles, but she ended up committing to college to play volleyball at a very high level. And she ended up being our first ever PFP Athlete of the Year. We literally created this Athlete of the Year scholarship because of her and because of how much she had grown and how much she had faced her adversities head on, her fears head on, and worked through them. And I watched Tracy, her mom, sports parent, I watched her mom be fully open and receptive, hungry to learn how do I best support her as an athlete, because guess what? There's not a book for that. Just like there's not a book for how to help a 4-year-old not be so crazy, which is our 4-year-old son. So there's no books for this stuff, right? And so I watched Tracy be all in like you guys are tonight, right? Like you're leaning in, hopefully no one's distracting you, right? If so, go lock yourself in a closet. You're leaning in and you're like, how do I get better? How do I figure out some things that I can do to support my athlete, my son or daughter in sports and life? And man, this girl went on, and because of the work that she did on herself, like I said, getting above the forest, that's what we did. We got her above the forest often. Every week she needed to get above the forest, recalibrate, get her eyes focused on her goals, what she wanted most, be able to talk through her challenges, talk through what was going on. And I mean, she ended up having just an incredible career, still struggled, still had her challenges. We all do. But I felt like Tracy, the way that she parented throughout this journey, and Megan, the way that she stayed dedicated to her own personal growth and development along the way, she gave herself the best chance to be mentally strong, mentally healthy. So with that said, we got to go through a couple funny things to get us kicked off, because that was all serious. These sports parent memes, man, they really get me. And just given what I do and who I am, I had to share them. So look at my dad. He's throwing a tantrum because I missed the ball. Isn't that funny? You can share that one with your husband. This is a good one. You like that one? And then the final one is the serious one. The 6 things parents can say to kids playing sports. Have fun, play hard, I love you. Did you have fun? I am proud of you, and I love you. That's 2 I love yous. I like that. All right, so tonight's 4-point discussion. To support your athlete maximally, do these things. We're going to go into each of them pretty high level. We're not going to get deep into them, but you're going to come away with some practical things tonight. Number 1, the mission is know what's going on in their minds like a ninja. They might not be telling you, but there's still ways for you to know. Be a student of them, put them in positions to assess and express. We'll talk about that. Number 2, better understand what people in general, and your child included, do and do not respond well to. There are things that we do and do not respond well to, and we all respond to pain and pleasure. We all respond to pain and gain, and we'll talk a little bit about that tonight. Check your heart posture. Tonight will be a great opportunity to get us above the forest, check our own heart posture, where are we at, and then assess and correct any expectations we have that might be a little outlandish. And then lastly, don't be the jack of all trades and the master of none. We don't want to do that. So we'll talk through that. And then at the end, I'm going to share a pretty awesome mindset challenge, something that we put together. Most of you on this call honestly already bought the book. So don't worry, like at the end, we're not doing like some big sales pitch on anything. Most of you guys already know about my book and you already got it. So there's just a bonus for you guys who already bought the book, and just a thank you for being on tonight. So I'll share that with you. Okay, let's dive in. You ready? Say I'm ready. I can't hear you, but I'm assuming you said I'm ready. So know what's going on in their minds and life. Be a student of them and their emotions. So you probably already know, but there are some ways that you can assess and help your athlete assess where they're at, what's going on through their mind. This, if you have not already had your student athlete take this quiz, there are some tricky, it's free. We put this software together. You jump on a computer or their phones, and they can kind of work through and identify how they're feeling, where their mindset's at, where their emotions are. There's some tricky ninja ways that a couple of parents have done this with their kids so that the parent can get the insights at the end and know where their athlete is at. One of the ways is in a non-conflict time when things are all dandy, it takes 5 minutes to do this. You're with your son or daughter and you say, hey, I found this really cool mindset assessment. It's going to give you some tricks and tips how to get to your next level with the mental game. Hey, here's my phone. Go ahead and do this real quick. It's just 7 questions. And then you might want to beg them, right? Please, please, please. I really want to do this. If you do it, I get like an Amazon gift card. I don't like lying, but sometimes you just, do what you got to do. And so you get them to take this little quiz. And then at the end, they don't see it, but at the end, the last screen says, email me my results. So it's this platform that we used and it says, email me my results. So they take it, boom, they go away, and then they email you the results. That's if you want to get the results. Or you just put it in their hands and say, hey, I think this could be helpful for you. Go ahead and take it. If you don't take it, no big deal, but I know that you might be going through some stuff, so take it. So that's one way. The other way is, well, before we go there, knowing what's going on in their minds, just reminders about life of an adolescent. And it's not really different than life of an adult at this point. All day long, it's drama. It's drama, 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 whether it's guys or girls at this point. It's people gossiping, people not inviting you places, people not encouraging you, coach not giving you the compliments you deserve. It's just so much dissatisfaction in today's world. And we can sometimes, I know this, we can sometimes take the stance of, gosh, like it's not that bad, right? Like it's just a breakup. You're going to have so many more of them, but we can't do that, right? We can't downplay anything that they've got going on because it's real pain. It's a real emotion that they're going through. So first off, it's like being able to know what's going on in students' lives, knowing what's going on in your child's lives. It's the same stuff all the time, pretty much. And even when you don't think there's something going on, if they're in middle school or high school, there is something going on, no doubt. At PFP, as many of you know, if you've had your athlete train at PFP before, we always go through this questionnaire on the left-hand side. So we'll start on the left-hand side. They go through and they highlight or bold or underline. In this case, this student was very clever and used a bunch of different colors. And they highlight the areas that are true for them, right? So perfectionism, I doubt myself. And that's like, look at right here, this 7, 8, 9, ninth one down. I doubt myself in sports, school, and social situations. Like that takes a pretty high degree of self-doubt to be willing to mark that answer when you know a coach who's a stranger is about to come talk to you about it. So that tells me like, man, like that person's got a lot of doubt. My parents put a lot of pressure on me to play well. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a kid mark that, and then when the parent got their eyeballs on it, they were like, their jaw dropped. They were like, we literally try our hardest not to do this. I'm like, I know. And you see how they're perceiving it? So it's like, we got to know this stuff. We got to know what's going on in their minds. I fear disappointing my parents, coaches, teammates. I feel stressed, a lot of pressure to live up to expectations. So on and so forth. So we have different tools that we use when we work with student athletes to figure out where they're at. And then of course we pass them on to parents. Just a little side for parents who are at PFP. This questionnaires evolved and it's gotten better and better. If you ever want to get your athlete reassessed, let us know. That's something you can always do with each stage in life. But there's other ways, right? There's other tools to do this kind of stuff. And then on the right-hand side, I mean, this is literally what is either consciously going through their mind, and they verbally say this stuff to me in mindset sessions, in different contexts, or I know for a fact, subconsciously, they don't even know what's going through their mind, but it's in there, right? My coach hates me. My dad only cares about me being good at lacrosse. I can't remember the last time my parents gave me a genuine compliment. It's always criticizing and condemning me for everything I do, right? Everything I do. It's not true, but that's the verbiage that they're playing in their mind, right? That's their vocabulary. That's their language that's going on through their mind, condemning me for everything I do. And you better believe that this will affect your relationship with them if that's what they're telling themselves. Everything, all the time. That's all they do is they're on my back. And so what we do is we try to shift that language because it's not helpful for them to think those thoughts. It's not true. But this is the truth. This is what's going on. My friend group just decided to go on a trip without me. This happened 3 times in the last month, believe it or not, 3 times in the last month with different athletes I work with. And only one of the parents knew about it. So 2 of the parents didn't even know that one was a son, one was a daughter, didn't even know that their friends had basically like just ditched them. I mean, ghosted them. It wasn't cool. If I quit, if I don't pursue college sports, I wasted all that time. Dangerous, man, dangerous for this thought to grow, right? Because thoughts that don't go addressed just grow and they get bigger and bigger. Because man, like if you believe that, you believe you wasted, what is that, 16, 17 years of your life, and that's the conversation that's going on in your mind, you don't want to throw 17 years of your life away, right? So naturally, you're just going to keep pursuing college sports, even though I'm here to tell you, like, not every kid should go play sports in college. Not every kid should. It's just fact. Unless you're all in, unless you're like, I want this so bad and I want the challenge that goes along with it. And I'm totally cool with not having as much of a social life outside of college sports. And I'm totally cool with having a coach who one person recruited me. And then all of a sudden that same person that recruited me is a different monster, right? I mean, like, unless your kid is totally aware of these things and cool with them and understands them and still wants it, I mean, not every kid should go play college sports. They just shouldn't. Yet, for most athletes that play any kind of club, this is the thought going through their mind. And so we got to shift that. We got to help them shift that. We got to support them. And most importantly, we got to know what's going through their mind. And then lastly, I'm only as valuable as my grades and accolades. I got to keep going up the ladder. I can't fall down one rung. It'll be detrimental if I do, right? One rung, 1B, I'm done for. 1B, I'm done for. And it's like, man, that just like when you're playing not to lose, it's a little different than when you're playing to win, right? You just got this like underlying level of dissatisfaction, discontentment, and you're not excited about what you're pursuing. You're scared about what you might lose, and that's what's motivating you to go forward. And so it's like, we got to really work to know what the thoughts are. And I didn't put it in this presentation tonight, but one of the exercises that we do, and I don't have a video about this yet, but I will film a video and I will get you guys a video so you can show it to your kids, is a really strong truth and lies exercise. And being able to pull out of their minds and their thoughts and put it into words. What are the lies that you're telling yourself? Like, let's talk about them. Maybe up until this point, you thought they were true, but what are the lies? Because this is a lie, right? Like, you can't fall down one rung. I would encourage you to fall down one rung so you realize it's not as bad as you thought. Let's do it. Let's fall down one rung and just watch how your perspective changes and it actually can benefit you. So got to know what's going on in their mind. Let's talk social media real quick. The point is, social media does cause your son, your daughter, a degree of pain. Oftentimes when they're on it, it causes them a degree of pain. It causes them more pleasure, short-term dopamine hit type pleasure. But every time they're on it, for the most part, there's some degree of pain that it causes, right? They see their friends that are doing something without them. They see the kid that committed and they didn't commit to their college yet. So the point is, they've got pain. And sometimes I see parents adding to it by criticizing and condemning them for being on social media too much. And I don't know what the benefit is to that. I have not yet seen any benefit for the student or the parent when we criticize or condemn them for being on social media too much. And this takes different forms. It takes like some like backhanded comments sometimes, like, well, I wish you would just spend more time with me. I wish you would just talk to me more. Right? Nervous nods and laughter, right? Like, I wish you would just spend a little more time with me. And then we make it about us. And that's a form of kind of condemning them for being on social media. And it doesn't work very well. We'll talk about what does, but that doesn't work. So we add to it sometimes, not on purpose. We want what's best for them. And we know social media is not best for them. It's really not, but that's what happens. So they're addicted to the feeling they get. They really are. They're addicted to that feeling that they get, even though half the time it's a bad feeling. Empathy and compassion win all the time. Empathy and compassion win all the time. Empathy and compassion win all the time. So if we notice there's some anger or sadness with our student athletes, with our students, with our kids, empathy and compassion always win, right? Condemnation and criticism, we know that never feels good. It doesn't win. Empathy and compassion win. And then we all know sometimes we just got to pick and choose our battles. I'm trying to get over this right now because, man, like there's a lot of people in my world, in my life, family, relatives, that it's like they're just so quick to give the iPad to Jack when he's freaking out. I'm like, okay, not today. If I ignore this one, I might have a chance at winning the war, but I don't need to win this battle. So remembering there's a difference between winning battles and winning wars. Moral of this lesson, be a student of them. So what can I do today to learn, to study them? It's going to start with me not making it about me, right? I can't make this about me. I can't make this about, I want my child to be spending more time with me, sharing with me how they're feeling, like for my gain. Like, you got to be a student of them. And that's one of the long-term ways to win. Understand and appreciate their world. So they're just trying to get some pleasure and they're just trying to avoid some pain, right? Understand and appreciate their world. They're not doing what they do for any other ill intentions. It's just, that's the best way they know how to avoid pain and get pleasure right now. And then condemn less. So 4-to-1. I wrote about this in the Youth Truth. 4-to-1 compliment to criticism ratio. Best thing you can do as a leader in business, best thing you can do as a parent, best thing you can do as a coach. And if you fall short and go 2-to-1, I bet you that's opposite of the ratio most of us are at right now. That's opposite, because most of us are maybe thinking some gratitudes, thinking some compliments, but not verbalizing them, which we know that's like having a present for somebody and it's wrapped and then you don't give it to them, right? It's like we're thinking them, but we're not giving them. So even if you went 2-to-1, finding things to point out that they're doing well, I'm telling you, it sounds so rudimentary. And you might even be saying like, yeah, tried that, didn't work. We're going to talk about that. We're going to get to the mindset of, well, I've tried that, it didn't work. And we'll figure out what the solution is there. But I would go back to this, right? Be disciplined with this one. Compliment to criticism ratio higher than it is today. That's the goal there. All right. So next key point tonight, point number 2 is understand what people do and do not respond well to. So I've mentioned this a couple times. The immature human mind, this is default mode. It's, I'm going to avoid pain and move towards anything that makes me feel good. I'm going to avoid things that make me feel bad and move towards things that make me feel good. This is default thinking. This is most middle school and high school students, until we get a hold of them, or until I get a hold of them, or until you get a hold of them, or until something in life gets a hold of them to where they realize, man, some things that used to be painful or that are painful actually are good for me when I lean into them, right? Exercising is the most simple analogy there, right? It's like, like sometimes you have to do painful things and it actually leads to long-term pleasure. And equally as true, we know the human mind, right? The adolescent mind especially, but adults too sometimes. It's like we just move towards whatever feels good. This is just a psychological thing that we do. We move towards what feels good, even if long-term it's a recipe for disaster. So where do we go from here, right? Because it's like, okay, that's not very encouraging for my student if they're just constantly avoiding painful things and moving towards things that make them feel good in the short term. Tony Robbins says people will do more to avoid pain than they will to gain pleasure. And this is so true, right? We will do more. We will move mountains to avoid things that are painful, avoid pain in general, physical, mental, emotional pain, than we will even to do something that will give us gain. And that's just that's human nature, right? That's how we operate. So here's the interesting thing. I'm just going to call this an interesting thing. There have been at least 5 mom-daughter duos in the last couple of months alone. I'm working with about 10 students right now, more than I've ever worked with, one-on-one, doing mindset training with them. And most of them are females. And not just those, but these are mom-daughter duos outside of those 10, that there's this tension right now between, like, I know my daughter's going through stuff and she's not sharing it with me. She's going through stuff, she's not sharing it with me. And it's frustrating me. It's causing me pain. It's causing me, I hate it, right? Like, what do I do? And what I'm finding is that out of that mindset that the parent has, out of that kind of heartache, because when our heart aches, well, we want to do something to make it feel better. Out of that fear or heartache from that parent is naturally flowing some things towards their daughter that's making their daughter not want to share with them even more. And I mentioned them earlier in this presentation already. I talked about some of them, like the one-off comments, the why don't you talk to me anymore? Why don't you share things with me anymore? And we know that that doesn't make us want to share them more. It actually makes us feel like we're backed into a corner. If we go back here, it makes us feel pain, and then we run from that. And so that's where, we look at the default response to pain, right? Until somebody matures and realizes that avoidance is long-term pain. This is something that I try to teach as many kids as possible. Maybe the next web class, master class will do. It'll be for the athlete. But it's like, until they link up that avoidance is long-term pain, courage and leaning in and sharing what I'm feeling is absolutely amazing, and pleasure. And like, this is awesome. Like, I feel so good when I do this. Until they link that up, they're going to default to the normal, right? Which most middle schoolers, high schoolers do this. So if they perceive that opening up to you will be painful, they will avoid it. They'll avoid it. And in the past, it might have been painful. All we have is the future. So what do? Number one, got to model it. So with your spouse, right? We got to practice modeling it, even if you like stage it. I've never thought about that until just now, right? You stage it and show them what real, raw, authentic opening up and sharing what you're feeling with your spouse looks like. And then hopefully it doesn't result in like catastrophic, like fighting, right? That's the goal. So model it. But then here's the other one that I think is a little bit more practical. Model it with them. Being vulnerable and open during non-conflict times. This is the hardest time to do it. This is when we don't want to do it because we don't want to make a fight happen. And I totally get it. But during a non-conflict time when things are going well, you just kind of subtly bring up, hey, Sarah, yesterday when we were fighting and you just walked out on me, or you said what you said to me, like, I just felt really hurt by that and sad. I know you didn't mean it, but I just wanted to let you know that, I did feel sad by it. And then just sit and say nothing. Say nothing. Don't run away. Don't try to close the conversation out. Just share it and say nothing. And don't have expectations, right? Don't have expectations for how your daughter or son's going to respond to that. Just share it. And that's modeling it, right? And one try doesn't equate to, we're going to talk about this in a second, but doing it once and seeing no fruit, like, that doesn't result in, like, it doesn't work, right? So practice this. This is something that I'm literally working on, like, in my own life right now, in my own leadership, in my own personal life. But man, it is powerful, and you get better and better and better at it each time. And if we were to look back at the way we grew up, like the way I grew up, like, this was not modeled. So it's no wonder why I'm not good at it yet, right? Like, I've got a ways to go on this, but I'm starting to see, like, wow, this is the way to do it. This is how we're supposed to be. We're supposed to feel safe, especially with our own family, right? We're supposed to feel safe enough to do this, but we can't expect our kids to do it if we don't do it. So we got to do it first. Apologies break down walls. We know this, right? With your spouse, if they see a true apology happen, if they hear it, I would encourage, like, don't do apology. If you're trying to model things for your kids, don't do apologies in private. Do them out in the open, just real, honest. I'm sorry. And guys, it might be like 2 years before we see this show up with our kids. It might be like years before we see it happen, but it'll happen. It's far more likely to happen if they see it modeled, right? That apology with the spouse, and then with them, right? Number 2 is with them. Be vulnerable and open during that non-conflict time. Hey, Sarah, yesterday I compared you to her, and that was wrong with me. And honestly, it was dumb because it's not even true. It's not even relevant. You're different people. Will you forgive me? Will you forgive me? So I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know. You've already heard this before. Again, like I said, tonight might just be a reminder, right? Reminders on things we can do to get more open, honest, vulnerable communication going. Apologies and openness and vulnerability about what we're feeling. Those 2 things work. I've actually got one more tip from one of our PFP team members, a mom. She shared this with me. I thought it was brilliant. What she's been doing with her son is, when she's feeling anything, an emotion, she says to her son, like, let's say she's feeling stressed and overwhelmed. She says, hey, John, I just want you to let you know, like, mommy's feeling stressed and overwhelmed right now. And again, if you're a parent of like a teenager, maybe you're not saying mommy, right? You just say like, hey, John, I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed right now. And that's why I'm going to go for a little walk around the park. Boom, let's go. Like, that was huge. When she shared that with me, like she literally verbalizes out loud to her kids what she's feeling, and explains that's why she's going to go do something productive about it, right? She's not going to stomp around. She's not going to internalize. She's not going to just try to push through it, which again, as a male, like, I'm just like, I can push through it, right? Jack is driving me nuts right now. He's driving me up a wall. I can push through this, right? I can stay calm. I can stay relaxed. And again, I know y'all don't have 4-year-olds, but it's a similar concept. Like, no, hey, Jack, hey, buddy, Daddy's going to go on a walk right now because I'm a little upset. I'm a little frustrated, and I'll be right back. Okay. And that's what we do. And so I thought that was a really cool tip. And this is where I could have switched the slide earlier. I forgot I included this. So this is Jack, right? You can't microwave situation-specific trust. And what I mean by situation-specific trust is there are, 3 to 4 times throughout a week where Jack, his anger gets so intense and he can't control it. And it's like a combination of like physical, like swinging and screaming in your face. And some of you parents are probably laughing at me. You're like, it gets worse, buddy. Don't. No. And it's like that, like blood boiling, blood pressure boiling, like, oh boy, like, I don't even think I've got control of my emotions right now as dad. And I've had times where I yelled back at him, right? And scared him, or I don't get physical with my son, right? But like grabbed him and like set him down forcefully, and it scared him. And honestly, like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I got to build back trust, because now every time, and just catch this before we move on, this is just the psychology part of it. Now, every time he finds himself getting worked up, you got to hear me on this. This is so, so important. Every time he starts to find himself getting worked up, somewhere in his brain, if the pain he experienced was great enough, the emotional pain, if the pain he experienced was great enough, he's going to start to avoid letting himself get there again. Even if he should express his emotions in a productive way, he's going to start to avoid it and internalize, because the way that dad responded wasn't good. And oh boy, if I do that again, dad's going to respond poorly. Dad's going to get angry. Dad's going to do something that doesn't make me feel safe anymore. And it's like, man, that takes time to build that back. So my 4-year-old example, it's not so serious right now, right? And I just share it because it's very, like, it's a personal story for me. But it's like, you got to think back, like, how many times has it been, painful in your own kid's mind from what they perceive to open up? How have they seen it modeled? How have they when they did it themselves? And it's like, it takes time. It's going to take intentionality, but I think it's a battle worth fighting. I think it's a road worth walking. Next up, make sure my heart posture is right and my expectations are kind. So what are the expectations that we've got for our kids? I've had parents write them down before, right? And maybe you have a chance right now, you can write yours down. So I just want to see him give his best effort all the time. That's it. I just want to see my kid give his best effort all the time. I just want him to tell me how he's feeling, or her to tell me how she's feeling, right? That's it. That's all I ask. I just want him to have fun, reach his full potential, or her, reach her full potential. And it's like, in our minds, it's like, that's all. Like, that's it. Those are the only expectations really in my heart. And maybe some of us have more than that, but I'm going to submit to you that even these expectations might be a little bit unkind and unrealistic. And our expectations tend to come out when they're not met, and they come out in different ways. So let's just walk through these real quick. Just his best effort all the time? Okay, well, that's not going to happen. So what happens when he inevitably falls short, or she inevitably falls short? How will we respond in that moment? This is like a forward-thinking question. Maybe you want to think about how you have responded in the past. Maybe it's just through a comment like, hey, like, I want you to give your best effort. I just want you to give your best effort. Maybe that's the past, but it's like, what about moving forward? Like, how do you want to respond if they fall short? And again, all the time, I think that might be a little bit unrealistic. Do I give my best effort all the time? No, I definitely don't give my best effort all the time. What about like 80%? We've got this really cool new, basically our business like system that we run. It's called EOS. And it's challenging for me because I'm an idealist. I'm a perfectionist in a lot of ways. But that idealism for me, I see the ideal future. And sometimes it even drives parents like you guys on here tonight. Like, sometimes it drives parents nuts because I like paint this ideal picture of what winning could and should look like. And EOS, this business system that we use, it basically says like, no, if you win 80% of the time, if you get 80% of the way there, like, that's pretty good. Celebrate. And I don't know how you feel about that. Maybe you're like, no, I'd rather get like 90. Maybe like 90% of the time they give their best effort, or 80% of the time they give their best effort. But it's like the whole rule with like eating junk food, right? If 80% of the time you eat healthy, 20% of the time you let yourself have, your treats and whatnot, I think you're still going to be successful. You're still going to get the outcomes you want. So that might be a little reframe for us, right? That might be a way we can support our son or daughter when they're having mindset struggles, which a mindset struggle could be dealing with failure, dealing with mistakes, dealing with not being perfect. It's like, hey, 80-20 or 90-10, but let's not say all the time. Like, got to be careful with our words, because those words really do have weight. And if we've ever told our kid, like, I just want you to do your best every game, do your best every day, I mean, that's just too much, in my opinion. It's too much for them to handle. And we don't mean that anyway. I don't think anyone on this call tonight, I don't think that's really your expectation. But when we say it, sometimes that's what our kids feel. That's what they hear. Next one was, I want him to be vulnerable. Tell me how he's feeling. Or I just want her to be vulnerable. Tell me how she's feeling. Open up a little bit. So when was the last time you expressed to him or her how what he said made you feel? All right, that's what we talked about earlier. Well, some parents will say, I tried it once, it didn't work. He, she, they got annoyed, they walked away. One data point is not fact. Try again, right? One data point is not fact. Try again. And what I've found is, in our minds, sometimes we've tried it more times than we've actually tried it. So try again, change course, try again, try a different approach, do it again. That's the second tip there. And then the third one was have fun and reach their full potential. So have fun. We talk about this a lot. If you guys have been on any of my other calls, or we've talked, it's like the questions we ask always point our kids towards the direction of what we value most. So if your real goal is for them to have fun, then what's your primary question? The question that you ask them more than any other question should be, did you have fun today? But a lot of the times, parents who really do value their kid having fun in sports, they will say, how did practice go? Or how did you do today? And questions reveal values, they reinforce values, and they direct your children. They direct your kids towards where you want them to go, believe it or not, because they want to make you proud more than anybody else in the world. I know you might not believe that. It's true. They might be ignoring, avoiding you, not opening up as much, whatever. They still, no matter what, I'll fight you on this. They want to make you proud more than anybody else in the world. And typically it's mom or dad. There's one person they want to make proud even more. I can't tell you why. It's just the way it is. And so we got to be intentional with the questions that we're asking here. I know that sounds painful, maybe like, gosh, I really have to think about the questions I ask my kids from now on. I think it's worth it. I really do. I don't know any other way about it other than to really get strategic with the questions you ask. So here's an exercise with your spouse. You can sit down together and literally write down the targets, right? What are the things that we want our kids to be or value? What do we want them to value? So maybe you want them to work hard, all right? Be kind and have fun. Let's just use those three for simplicity. Work hard, be kind and respectful to maybe people older than you, and then have fun. What are the three questions that you should be asking more than any other questions? Of course, did you work hard today? Were you kind today? Were you kind to people? And then did you have fun? And if you get in a rhythm with this, and you keep doing it and you keep doing it, I promise you, I don't care if your kid's 11, 15, 18. I mean, once they maybe start getting up past like the 20s, it might be harder to change their values, but you can still do it with enough intentionality and effort and prayer. But I'm telling you, ask the questions. Really get serious and focused on what are the questions that are going to guide them towards the things that I would love to see them value in life. And we could go on and on and on for days about all those different questions, all those different values. But I think this is a deeply personal thing, and it's worth the time with your spouse, writing down what do we want them to value and what are the questions that connect to that. And then the other part, reach your full potential. So here's a cool thing. This was a dad that grabbed my new book and sent me this picture today because his 11-year-old son, which this book was really written for like a very like mature middle schooler or high schooler or college student, his 11-year-old son wanted to go through it with his dad. I thought that was so cool. And if you see some of these questions down here, what does it really mean to reach your full potential? Have you reached yours? How are you working towards yours right now? This is for mom and dad too. Have you ever worked on what success means to you, him, her? Have you ever done that together? Have you ever created a North Star? So again, we've got a spectrum of parents here. We've got some that are parenting 11-year-olds like Colin here. And then we've got some that are with 17-year-olds. I don't know if you're going to be able to get your 17-year-old to sit down, but here's the point. In this book, we've got questions like, what does success mean to me? What's my North Star? What's most important to me? And we've lost the art of sitting down and reflecting. And this is what I do. This is why like the mindset sessions that I do with athletes work, because I make them write and think and take their phone out of the room and really like go deep, go introspective and think through these things. And so that's what he was doing right here with his dad. And his dad, Colin, the dad, was actually telling me like, hey man, like some of these questions are really good for me too. Like I haven't revisited this in a while. Like I haven't thought about what success means to me, what success looks like to me. Real quick, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you guys can see me real quick. Just want to share this quick tip before we finish up because we have just a couple more things to do. I was talking with this mom named Trina, who is a driven, goal-oriented woman, and her daughter got cut from a team and then tore her ACL. And Trina seemed okay about it. Like, her daughter was supposed to go to Division I, play sports. And like, Trina seemed pretty good with it. I was like, Trina, like, why is it that like this hasn't like wrecked you? Like, why isn't it like her setbacks and her not making the team, coach cutting her, like, why hasn't that wrecked you? And she said, Andrew, I know she's going to be fine. I said, okay, but like, why? She's like, I know she's going to be fine because her entire life, she's watched me have my own goals for my life. She's watched me be driven, not just for success and accolades, but like, she's watched me be intentional about what my values were, what my goals were. She's like, I've got goals. Like, I'm 50 years old and I still have goals in life and I still am working towards things. And I thought that was such a good lesson of, if you personally, as a parent, if you are doing that work, right? Like, what are my goals in life? Like, what matters to me? What does winning look like? What are my values? What is my legacy? Here's another question that's in the book. And I promise there's, most of you again have bought the book, so this isn't selling the book, but like, there's a question there that's like, what legacy do I want to leave in sports? And as a parent, you could shift it and say, what legacy do I want to leave for my kids, right? What do I want to be remembered for? And let me let this person back in. And when you do that and they see it happening and they see you there journaling your response every once in a while, and they're like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm just trying to, write out what my legacy is going to be. It's like, what? Like, that's cool. I don't know if you think that's cool, but I think that's really cool. And I do know for certain that will help guide your kids towards being intentional with where they're headed. So if your goal is for your kid to reach their full potential, that's cool. But make sure that you've thought about what that means and what your full potential is. We gotta look back at ourselves and say, am I working towards my full potential? They will always do what they see, not what we say, right? That's the saying. And then lastly, jack of all trades, master of, don't be the jack of all trades, just be the master of your role, and then know what the coach's role is. That's one of the best ways we can support our kids through mindset struggles, is to get them around great coaches, get them around people, and then ask for those coaches' help. Here's a quick tip. This is from the book as well. Help them shift what things mean to them. The middle school or the high school student, they get this chart messed up. Empowering versus disempowering meanings. In our minds, what happens when an event occurs is we perceive it and then we immediately assign a meaning to it. Right. So here, I'm just going to walk through these real quick. I got pulled out of the game. I'm a failure. Or I fell short. What can I learn from this? I'm dumb. I'm terrible at this. I got to be on a test. Or maybe I'm just not strong in this particular area. Maybe this is just a sign that I'm probably not going to be a science major. It's over for me. Or is a new chapter beginning? Everything is ruined. It's all falling apart. Hey, sometimes a breakdown is needed for a breakthrough. I wasted all these years pouring my heart and soul into this thing. Or, and this is what every time I talk with a student who's really doesn't want to go to college to play sports, but they feel like they have to, I say, or did you invest time and energy and it's made you a strong person? They just look at me like, I never thought about that. He or she hates me, right? They didn't like my post. Well, that's not a good one for he's challenging me. Coach hates me, right? They're ignoring me, or they pulled me out of the game, or they're challenging me. They only care about my success as an athlete. My parents, they're going to be disappointed in me if I don't succeed. Or maybe your parents think they're helping. Maybe you should communicate to them how it makes you really feel. Have you ever thought about that? I don't want to do that. Okay, well, just an idea. This is awful, or this could be an opportunity. So it's this idea, and some people think it's like, oh, it's so Pollyanna, it's like positive thinking. No, this is the reality. We get to choose what things mean to us, but we have never, most kids have never taken back control of what things mean to them. And meaning equals feeling. Meaning equals feeling. If you think this means you're a failure, you're going to feel really bad about yourself. You're going to feel down. But if this means that you maybe just fell short and you can learn something from it, you're going to feel encouraged and like you've got hope in a future. And so I really encourage, understanding this, first off, grasping this, and then finding ways to put this in front of them. This chart could be a start, right? You could take a screenshot right now. You don't even have to buy the book. Just take a screenshot and be like, hey, Johnny, Susie, like, I just kind of learned this new concept. I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like I'm a failure, or sometimes I feel like, small setbacks are really like big. Have you ever felt that before? And this is you talking to your kid, right? This is you being vulnerable. This is you sharing like, hey, I'm learning things that I didn't know before. And then it's like, hey, but check this out. And so anyway, inviting your kids along in this growth journey, this personal growth journey, could be really, really cool. And that's one of my intentions with the book. Even when I saw the picture of that dad and his son, I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is generational transformation. Here are a couple other ones. Pressure is bad, right? That's a thought, and that's a meaning sometimes. Or pressure creates diamonds. This is catastrophic, or this will be catalytic. Two different ways to think about it. Why me? This happens every time. Or every setback puts me one step closer, I will succeed. So these are things that we frame up in as far as empowering and disempowering meanings. Here's something cool. Last week, I was talking with two parents, live in Pennsylvania over a Zoom, and the mom and dad said, "So Andrew, like, what can we do? We're literally reading the Youth Truth. That's why I've got the picture of this book up there. We're reading the Youth Truth, and we realize there's ways to do this sports parenting journey better. There's ways we can do it better. It's like, what do we do? I'm like, you're doing it. Like, you're literally doing it. You're learning and applying. And life gets busy, man. Like, I know we don't have time to read all the time. We don't have time to, go to conferences all the time and learn, but that's just the best way that I've learned, right? Is if you want to be better at something, find somebody to model, find somebody that's doing it, find a resource to learn from and do it. And I thought this couple who are Eagles fans, which was like, yes, go Eagles, even though we lost to the Chiefs. I thought it was so cool because they're like, yeah, we're learning and we're trying to get better, but what else can we do? I'm like, you guys are awesome. Your kid's going to be just fine, because they've got humble parents who are eager to learn and eager to grow and aren't afraid to admit to their kids, we don't know what we're doing. And that's it. I think that's the secret. All right. So in summary, fly through a couple points. You're either making progress or going backwards. There's no staying the same. So we got to keep working on this. Be a student of them and really seek to understand and appreciate the world. That's the paramount posture to start with. Empathy and compassion wins. Don't assume one try at something is enough. Change the approach. Try again. When in doubt, compliments up, criticisms down. And here's the other thing about that. You only get a couple where you actually have their ears and heart. So use them wisely, right? Those criticisms, you're not going to get a lot of them where they're actually listening, all ears, all heart. So you've got to use them wisely when you use them. Don't do it out of an emotional response, the critiques and the criticisms, as much as possible. And then know the value of a coach and invest in one for your kids. All right, 2 gifts. So for those of you who have already purchased the book, we put together something to make sure kids actually get through the book. It's the 15-day Master Your Mindset Challenge. It's going to start somewhere around March, I think 13th. So you'll get emails about that if you already bought the book. If you didn't get the book, you can get it at the discounted price still here with the QR code. It's only been launched for the PFP family. I honestly don't know who all's on here tonight that is outside of the PFP family. But if you are on here, then you're going to get the special right now by getting the book and workbook. And you'll get this 15-day challenge. And there's going to be some promptings each day to help us work through. But it's 7 mindset hacks, 7 minutes a day. Win before the whistle blows. So that's that. And then this one is if you just want to download a free excerpt of the book, you don't want to buy the book right now, that's fine. You can do that there. Little QR code. And just shoot me an email once we get off here if you need more information on that. And then here's something we just put together for sports teams. So if your kid plays for a team, we're basically giving this away at this point. This is going through the end of the month. Sports teams are going to get a buy one, get one book free deal. So basically 50% off. They're going to get the Master Your Mindset Challenge. They're going to get the diagnostic tool, the quiz for their players. And then I am personally, only for teams that register by the 28th of February, we've got like a half dozen already. And I'm starting to get a little stressed out because I'm like, and Daniela's like, well, when are you going to do all these? I'm like, I don't know. Where there's a will, there's a way. But I want to personally go out and do kind of a combination for their teams, speed and performance part of it, whatever the coach wants. and then also a powerful portion of the 7 mindset hacks, quick enough to make a real big impact in the team. So that's something that I just want to do. So just shoot me an email at andrew@pfpfit.com if you might want to put that in front of the coach of your athlete's team. This was a team that I was out at last night, drove out to Columbia, 16 girls. Oh, there's 25 total on the team, 12-year-old soccer team, and they did awesome, right? We did a little speed session, did a little mindset session, and the coach took advantage of this deal. So that's for you. Again, tonight's not about selling things, but this is kind of a no-brainer. So if you want to do it, do it. But guys, thanks so much for being on. So pumped that you were able to join us, and reach out to me if you've got more questions. I do actually want to know, like, what would be the next thing, right? What would be like the next webinar that you guys would want? Would it be one for your athlete? And if so, which topics? You can drop them in the chat box right here, or just shoot me a message. My phone number, I actually put it in the book. I put my phone number in the book. I felt led to do that. And so my phone number, 301-524-6384. Text me. I'm here. PFP team is here. We just want to serve. We want to help your kids and help you navigate this crazy, crazy world they're living in. And we'll do what we can. So share with me what you think that next topic would be, what you guys would like to hear about next, and we'll go from there. Much love to you all. Peace. Enjoy the rest of your evening.